Yeah, I got the audition. I almost forgot to do it. And then I was like, oh my God, I have this audition due. And then after the callback, I remember being like, man, I hope I get that job. I fell in love with Vantage and I grow to love her more over time. She's such a fun character.
Before we jump into the episode, I want to mention the comment of the day. This comes from the episode where I talked to Conduit voice actress from Apex Legends, Frankie Kevich. This comes from Do AICN LOSC. I'm so sorry for butchering your name. It says, I'm a huge Apex fan. Thank you so much for this interview. I think the whole team really had fun designing Conduit because there are so many Easter eggs and small details with this legend. Like you mentioned in the interview, Conduit has special animation where she imitates Castle and Loba on Legend Select screen. Thank you so much for this comment. And if you want to get featured in the comment of the day on every single episode, all you have to do is comment on this episode. And now presenting Natalie Cañizares, who played Vantage in Apex Legends. Did you get to set any kind of, I know a lot of people do this, but I don't know if but do you have set any resolutions for this year?
I'm not a huge resolution setter, but I did set some intentions and, I have some goals. I've been going through a lot of change in my personal life over the past year, lots of big changes. And so I want to start writing more and putting my writing out into the world, which is something that I've been working on, but it's still very private. I haven't shared anything. I also I write and direct movies too. So I shot my short film last May, and I, just finished editing it, which took a million years and a lot of it was a really interesting process. I learned a lot in the process. Across the board, literally about Premiere Pro, and then also about myself as an artist and all of that. So that was wonderful. But I would like to submit that movie to some festivals and get it seen and all of that this year. And I'm an actor, and it's very hard to set goals like I want to book X, Y, and Z because in reality, I have no control over what I book.
Yeah.
I have control over how well I do when I get auditions, how I position myself in order to receive those auditions. But beyond that, it's a very chaotic and unpredictable world. So, I would like to work some bigger jobs this year. I have some things that excite me when I think about them, but I can't make that a goal because I can't make that happen. But yeah, so I have all of that kind of running in the background, and I'd like to travel a bit, and yeah.
That's cool. That's amazing. Yeah, it's hard to have those goals set up when you don't really have that in control on what you're gonna book. But I love the fact that you love directing and making movies. When did that start out? Like, was that always a thing that you like? Oh, I want to do it all: editing, directing, all of it.
I fell in love with movies in high school. I went to an arts high school for my last 2 years of high school for junior and senior year in Chicago, and it was a magical place. It was honestly like I hated public high school. It was not my vibe. And this was just like a tiny school with only 100 kids. And it was just, there were no popular people. There was no gym. Like it was really honestly incredible and life-changing. So I took a literature through film class, and I discovered film, like really film, and learned about how poetic movies were and could be. And so I fell in love with movies at that time and film. But it's been a winding road to get here. I would say, I started playing around with shooting my own things just over the past few years. And I made my first like official short film with the script and everything that I wrote and directed in 2020. Two? Oh my God, years are so, I think 2022. And it was called La Mesa, the table. And that, premiered at a film festival. And it was such a satisfying experience because as much as I love acting, and I do, I also love like creating. Like I like being the one in charge and putting the thing forward. Like I have a lot to say and I can be verbose, but I have a lot of ideas and a lot to say. So it just felt very satisfying to have something that was brewing in me come out. And I didn't edit that one, but this current movie, I took on way more responsibility. I decided I'm going to learn this because,
Mm.
in edit, you can change everything can change. I
Yeah.
mean, if you write something and then shoot it and then edit it exactly as it was written and shot, you have one thing.
Mm.
And then I realized that I was missing out on like such a huge part of the process and a discovery. And so really like learning how to edit and to edit well gave me a whole nother level of freedom in store with my storytelling. So that is why I kind of dove into editing. And it's just been very satisfying to be able to play with the form. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, editing has been. I think I've been editing for 6-ish years now. It's amazing because you can change everything that you have shot, and then you're okay. We can fix this, and here, oh yeah, like after one point you're gonna shoot everything, and you know like, oh, I'm gonna cut this part out. I know this is gonna go. So it's a fun process to edit, and it's a long process to edit at the same time. So, uh, uh, was this your kind of like your first entry into editing, or have you already done editing before?
I had edited little bits here and there, little things. Like
Hmm.
I love film, like literally physical film. So I like shooting on Super 8 or 16 millimeter. And
Nice.
obviously I get that all scanned and I edit it in Premiere, but I had shot a couple just like short films that were like not even they were more like documentaries
Hmm.
of a trip I took to Paris or Christmas last year with my family, and I played with editing. So I just started learning how to edit then, and then but the under my current film, that was a much bigger undertaking, and it took I was on YouTube a whole lot being like, how do I do this? And you know
Yeah.
wasn't easy, but I definitely have a lot to learn still, but it is cool to do something that's challenging and to get better at it, you know?
Yeah. It's just so
Yeah.
fun to get. You just get your juices flowing. I'm like, okay, I can do that now. Oh yeah. Like, and then you
Exactly.
start playing with it. Yeah, it's fun. But I was looking at, and then I saw that you started your career as a dancer.
Yes.
How, like, you went from dancing towards acting. What was that shift like? How did you come upon dancing in the first place? How is that all about?
I started dancing when I was a baby. Literally. My mom put me in ballet class when I was like 3 years
Wow.
old. Yeah. So, I was always like I was always a performer. Always. All the home videos are just me hamming it up. Also writing and directing things. My home videos are all like me doing a soap operas and I'm playing like all the roles and I'm also calling like, "No, no, no. Okay, Jackie, my cousin, like move the camera." And so I was always a ham and a performer. And I danced my whole life. I went to that arts high school for dance, and I went to college for dance. And then I lived in New York City after I graduated. I was also a choreographer, and I was making work, and I got very burnt out. I had all sorts of issues with I mean, it's not the kind of dancer I was, not like a dancer in Hollywood, but like an artsy, like theater dance. Like it wasn't, there was no money in it. And I was working many jobs to try to survive. And I was tired and hungry. And I just got sick of it. So I took a break from performing for a while and I got into health and wellness. I started teaching yoga. I started health coaching and doing all of that. And then I moved to Los Angeles, not for acting, a little over 8 years ago, like almost 9 years ago now. And I was like, I've always been here. I'd always wanted to act and I was here. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I just try it? So I started taking classes and it felt like putting on a pair of jeans that finally fit really well. Like
Yeah.
dance had never felt that way for me. I think
Mm.
dance was always like me swimming upstream. I learned a lot as a dancer. I have a lot of good things that I got from it, but it never really was my passion. It was kind of what I think my mom put me in, and
Mm.
then I
Yeah.
was very good at, like, achieving what I was like, "Oh, this is how I succeed. Okay, I can do this." Like, my mom likes it. I'm good at it, and there were a lot of things I liked about it, but it was never like who I was. When I started acting, yeah, it felt like I put on like my perfect pair of jeans. I was like, "Oh, I can express myself with words." And it was just like, I don't know, it just felt so natural to me. And so then I started pursuing a career in acting, and I've been doing that for about 7 years,
Wow.
um, which is wild. Um, yeah, and I mean, the same has happened with, like, kind of starting to make my own work. It just feels like another level of being able
Mm,
to express myself more freely, and,
yeah.
yeah, so
Wow, that's cool. I think, as I do somehow relate because I love dancing as well, and I take it as a hobby. I know some of my friends were like, you should audition for this. I'm like, no, but like
yeah.
I've always taken it as a hobby, and I would be like, if I'm not feeling the very best, sometimes I would put on music and I would sometimes choreograph some moves, and I'm like, what am I doing? But this is good. So like it's just those things, but I never took it seriously. And so I just took this what I'm doing here seriously more. So I felt alive when I'm speaking to someone, when I share stories, and like that is felt me more alive. And so I relate to that completely. And I would say congrats to you on doing acting for so long, and booking this game as well. It's incredible. And so when you decided like, hey, acting is going to be it, do you had like, who were your inspirations at that point? Did you have like an actor you look up to, or an actress that you looked up to?
Mm, you know, of course, there are lots of actors and actresses that I admire, but it wasn't so much a person that I was looking up to or people. It was more just like a felt something that I felt pulled
Hmm.
to do
Yeah.
internally. Do you know what I mean? Um, and I looked up to people that were just doing what they wanted to do. I think for me, I've always had to work through a lot of internal resistance.
Yeah.
Like if I want to change or evolve or try something new, I have a fear of failing or a fear of looking stupid or being too old to start something or all those things. And so I was really inspired by people's stories, that people that started things, later in their lives, or people that, yeah, that took risks. That really was kind of the inspiration at that time. And it continues to inspire me, that because it's hard to put yourself out there. It's
Yeah.
really hard. It's very vulnerable. And I mean, yeah, it's scary to fail. And in order to get better at something, you have to be willing to fail at it.
Yeah.
And I failed a lot, and I will continue to fail. And that requires me to really work on my mindset around that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is scary when you think about it. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm gonna do this. What if I fail? And so it's like, all those questions. I understand, like, you have to have that mindset. It's important to fail so that you can learn and grow. And so yeah, that's a mindset game that everybody has to play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I you mentioned about the movie La Mesa, which I actually did see, and it
Oh.
was really cool. I didn't expect that. I thought it's gonna be just conversations going on, like it's great, and then I didn't expect the characters just popping up. Like, okay, so I really like that. It was pretty cool. How, like, was that the whole, how did you come up with that idea of like, okay, this is how everything is going to be?
I had been like rolling through ideas in my head, and then it just at one moment literally just hit, like dawned on me, and I just wrote it all out. And then through iterating, talking about it with friends and other people, I think getting feedback on the ideas that I had, I was trying to find a way to, it's about falling in love with the idea of someone and not actually seeing who they really are, and
Mm,
like having to accept who the other person is and then making a decision from that place, like really seeing who they are.
yeah.
Because a lot of times I think we just project our fantasies onto each other. And so I was trying to find a way to get that across, right? Like the fantasy that we have.
Mm,
And then another version of the person coming through, and then like having to confront who your partner thought you were.
yeah.
I think having to confront that version of yourself that doesn't exist, that might even have things that you hate. You're like, "Wait,
Yeah.
you thought I was this? You thought," for instance, for the woman character that I played, she has to see that her partner thought she was like a very cool, collected person that doesn't get emotional, that is like extremely intellectual and
Hmm.
just has it together and just, yeah. That is hurtful to the real her because she is intellectual and she is smart and she can be cool and collected, but she's a complex being and she gets emotional and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think for him too to see that she thought that he was going to be like all fun and playful and open to like learning her language and
Yeah.
I think that hurts him too. And so that's kind of where, yeah, the idea of doubling the people came in. And it was, oops, sorry, my ring hit the table. It was really fun to play with that idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That was pretty cool. I like it. It was short. It went. It didn't feel like it went by. To be honest, it felt like it really felt like I watched for 30 minutes. But like it was very cool. I like that, and I liked how simple it was, and it doesn't have to be so complicated and different. So that was very cool. I really enjoyed that one,
Thank
and
you. Thanks for watching it.
absolutely. And so yeah, Apex Legends, the game that you got to play Vantage in. How did that happen?
I got an audition from my theatrical agent at the time, my agent for TV and film, and it had a code name, and I did not even know what Apex Legends was anyway. But I got the audition. I almost forgot to do it, and then I was like, "Oh
Oh,
my god, I have this audition due," and
wow.
I did it 20 minutes before it was due, which is very much
Ooh.
not like me. And I got a call back, which was on Zoom, and I hadn't done much voiceover. It's not something I've pursued heavily.
Mm.
I was like, "We'll see." But the callback was really fun. Like, I had a great time, and I was enjoying the character, and then after the callback, I remember being like, "Man, I hope I get that job because that was fun."
Yeah.
And then they, wanted to talk to me, on Zoom. I think I found out I booked it, and we had, like, a whole meeting with, like, all the people from the video game and the casting director, and they were, like, all on Zoom, and they were like, "Congratulations, you booked Apex Legends!" And I was like and they were like,
Yay.
"We don't know what that is." And I was like, "I'm sorry, I don't play video games." Not that I have anything against them, it's just not something it's not a world I had looked into before. But they were like, "This is a very big game." And I was like, "That's awesome." And, I got to, go in and work on the game, and I mean, I still work on it. They have me
Mm,
back every few months, which is so wonderful because
yeah.
I fell in love with Vantage, and I grow to love her more over time. She's such a fun character. I wouldn't say she's very that different from me. People say Vantage is rude. I'm like, I'm not rude. I'm a little blunt, and I
Mm,
think I really relate to her on that front. Just kinda say it like it is. Why beat around the bush?
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I got to work on the game, and it was a blast. The first couple months, I was going in a lot, just building the character out, and I was like, "Wow, this is so much fun." I honestly had no idea how much I would enjoy it.
Wow, that's so cool. I love listening to the fact that I know like video games is slowly sort of growing to people like, okay, oh, I've heard about this game. But like it's cool to hear that you didn't know about the game and you were kind of like doubting, but when you got into it and started the process, it was enjoyable for you and you enjoyed the character, ended up liking her so much. That's so cool. That's lovely to hear.
Yeah.
Um so before this, you had absolutely zero idea about video games at all. Have you not ever seen video games in the past, or this is
Yeah,
absolutely brand new?
truly, like, I had played Mario Kart maybe, like, as a kid.
Uh,
That's it. Yeah,
uh,
I just wasn't in the world, you know?
that's understandable. I mean, to be honest, like video games, and it's the same for my sisters. Actually, they are like, I don't think so. I'll ever play a video game, regardless of how they are. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, so like, I understand how, how things are because it's not like it doesn't call up to everybody, and it's like, and to be honest, not everybody has the time to even play games. I myself don't get the time, which I thought I would never have that. And I always thought like, yeah, I'm gonna grow up, I'm gonna play games more. That is not happening. So but like I'm really happy how this character turned out to be, and as I said, you had so much good experience. And when the character was finally out, obviously they released a trailer and a story. What was your reaction like when you saw all of it fit together in that screen or in the video?
It was so exciting. I was so proud of the work that I had done, and Just happy to be a part of it. It was so cool to see my voice on Vantage.
Yeah.
She's kind of like this like strong, tough woman, and I think my voice it comes across pretty young and sweet.
Mm.
So I think that also the juxtaposition of that is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was proud. I was like sending it to everyone and posting it on Instagram, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing. I love how this turned out." Yeah.
I love the animation styles and the look of each of the stories and trailers and everything. It just looks so cool, and I love like how the stories are, and I really love the story of Vantage as well. What was like? What do you think about this relationship that Vantage has with her mom? Because I initially thought that, oh, she would be angry because of what was revealed, and but she's now trying to save her mother. So like what do you think like about this relationship and how everything turned out for her?
Yeah, I think that it's honestly I feel like it's a an immigrant story in a lot of ways,
Mm.
and I can relate to that my family is from Cuba, and so I've had a lot of experience with family coming over and dealing with these things that are different from what goes on in the game, but I think it's kind of a mapping, like, it's
Yeah.
similar, getting captured, not being able to, like, get the person out, not being able to bring the person here, so I related to it, which really helped me with the material. Like there was something a hook for me, I
Mm.
was able to like connect. And I don't know, I mean, I think it's a beautiful relationship, and I think that Vantage wanting to make her mom proud, help save her mom, all of that I can understand, and there's a lot that I can relate to in it.
Before we continue, I just want to say thank you to each and everybody who's listening and watching this episode. Whether you're commenting or sharing the episode, it really helps out this podcast. Now you can support this podcast in a much better way because I have launched a Patreon page for this very podcast. If you become a Patreon member, you will get a lot of perks, like you will be the first to watch every single episode earlier than everybody else. You will also get to know who's the next guest earlier than everybody else. And more importantly, your questions for the guest will get the highest priority. You can gain a lot more perks other than this. All you have to do is visit patreon.com/behind the voice. And all the funds collected from Patreon will be used directly on this podcast to enhance the quality and make it better than before. And now let's continue with Natalie Cañizares. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. It I really liked how her goals sort of changed after everything that's happened. And so I wanna know like when the first day of your recordings and when you entered, what was it like? What was this? Tell me the story of how all of it happened. How did you go through, and what was that whole day like?
Let me remember.
So let me go back in
um
time. It's gonna take a while.
It was like yeah, back in COVID. I mean, COVID still exists, but it was back when COVID was much more of an issue. There were all these rules around it. I went to Warner Brothers, so it was all virtual. I think there are legends that have gotten to work with the people in person,
Mhm.
but for me, they were just all on Zoom. It was a 4-hour session. At the beginning, they're always 4-hour sessions, I believe, for everyone, just like to build out the character. And yeah, I was nervous. I remember the weekend before, I was like, I better rest a lot and like keep my voice because I had never worked
Yeah.
that much at all in voiceover. So I was like, what is this going to be like? I was nervous. I was excited. It was so cool to get to work on the Warner Brothers lot. And I, yeah, I had my sound engineer was the only person that was there in person. And we just started, and I have the lines right in front of me and I'm reading them, and it took time to find where Vantage lived. It was
Mhm.
collaborative, and they were like, "You're like back here in your voice. I want you to come up, and like bring it up a little." And I was finding where she lived in my body and yeah, who she was for me. And I feel like once we got in the groove that day, I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And, um, it was a lot of fun. That whole time period of, like, building her out was just a lot of consistent work, which as an actor is always a blessing, and it was enjoyable because Apex Legends is written so well. I've
Mhm.
auditioned for a handful of other video games now, and I don't know, maybe I'm auditioning for not that cool of video games. I don't know. But nothing even compares. Like the level of
Wow.
writing for Apex Legends is just so much higher than a lot of the things that I've now seen.
Mm.
The jokes are funny and there's personality and I don't know, there's a groundedness to the game that I think makes it really enjoyable to work on as an actor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Actually, a lot of the dialogues of all the other legends are, whether they're serious or funny, and it's just like it's really cool, especially even the interactions or every single dialogues that every single legend has. It's pretty cool. I love the writing in this game, and I love the writing of Vantage too. And as you mentioned before, she is very blunt, so there's a lot of lines. I'm like, whoa, okay. I don't know if I want to play against her, but it's pretty cool. I like how there's bluntness in it, which I've not really seen much. But yeah, like so with all the nervousness that you feel, how do you push through it? Is there a way that you figured out, like, okay, I'm gonna focus on this, and maybe this way I'm not as nervous as I should be?
Yeah, so for me, nerves when it comes to performing are generally more in the buildup.
Hmm.
Um, it's like before I get to set or right when I get to set, I feel the nerves, like it's the buildup. So obviously I just have to get to the job. um, and then once I start working and I'm focusing on the work itself, the nerves always go away.
Hmm.
At least as of now. I don't know, who knows? That's been the case, so I've worked quite a bit in commercials, and I've done some really challenging commercials, like being the only person and,
Oof.
having a ton of lines. I also speak Spanish, so, like, doing the whole thing in English, doing the whole thing in Spanish, and being the star of a commercial, having a room full of people watching me, and a commercial set is it is like you are running they're running a tight ship. They need to get the shot done before
Yeah.
this time. And there's so much precision in commercials. And it honestly, I'm so grateful because it was like boot camp for nerves and confronting anxiety because it's like, okay, I'm nervous, but
I have
I
to.
have to perform. I
Yeah.
have to do this. And I've just gotten better. And, I've obviously had moments where the nerves have really hit me, but I think I just have to feel the feelings instead of trying to like resist them and be like, "Don't be nervous. What's wrong with you?" To really just allow myself, "Okay, I feel really nervous right now. Like I'm sweating and I'm kind of shaking. Okay, but I'm just going to do this, and if I make a mistake, I won't die. No one's going to kill me." Okay. And then I just start to do it, and I think like seeing that it, like, builds the trust, right? And then you
Mm.
see, okay, you can survive being nervous. It's like but for me, the nerves haven't gone away. In 7 years, I still get really nervous. Like, if I have an in-person audition that is high stakes, I'm nervous. My hands are probably shaking, but I work with it instead of trying to fight it.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's right. You have to work through it, and to be honest, it happens with me every time. Even though I've talked to like 50 people, it's just like every time. It's even today, right before joining the call, I'd be like nervous and be like, "Oh gosh, it's the first time. This is a new person. I don't know if I can
Yeah.
connect." All that stuff. I'll be sweating. Even it happens when I'm in the call for the first 5 minutes. I'm sweating. I'm like, oh gosh, like so. It slowly goes away because I slowly start to realize, like, hey, it's going good. It's not, nobody's killing me. Thankfully, it's virtual. So yeah, I'm happy that I'm able to figure that out as well. And I know a lot of people have this kind of nervousness building up so much that they're not able to. They're focused so much on nervousness that they're not able to get out of it and do the work. So that is something that I hope those people able to figure it out, like, not to focus on nervousness side of things, be like focus on what you're doing, trying to not think about how to get that thing out, how to take the
Yeah.
nervousness out, and just focus on what you can do.
Work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. Anxiety and nerves, it's a challenging subject. And I think that they say that excitement and
Yeah.
anxiety or nervousness live in the same place in the body. So it could also be excitement.
Hmm.
I think that, for me, also therapy has helped me a ton. I've been in some really, really I worked with an incredible therapist and I just had like such a good we had a very good connection. I've worked with many therapists in my life, and I hadn't always clicked with a therapist like this.
Mm,
So I've been in therapy. I was in therapy for like 3 years, and that really helped me also build my confidence and work through the thing, like the underlying things that were causing undue fear. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I had connected my worth and my value as a person to what I was achieving in the world, or
Mm,
whether or not I was accepted by other people, or if I booked jobs or had external success. It's like, oh, if I don't have external success, I'm not worthy of love and I'm a piece of garbage. Yeah, that's not true. But it took a lot of like working through childhood
yeah.
traumas and memories and dealing with all of that stuff to finally start to embody that understanding. Like you can intellectually understand, okay, I know that like being successful doesn't make me more worthy as a person, but then there's the deeper subconscious part of you that might not understand that. And so
Mm.
I think honestly that also really has helped me over the past few years.
Yeah, therapy is something that I think everybody should get in general. Like I know it's like expensive at the same time, but like it should
Yeah.
be yeah, it should be something like you should not negate it. If you think you need it, you should not disregard it. You should just take it, and it helps. At the end of the day, it helps. And whatever all of that you just said is like, man, I was thinking this. I'm still thinking the same way. So yeah, it's all that stuff. I'm like, wow, that's great. But yeah, it's good to try to get into therapy and try to change the mindset. And I'm trying every day to change that sort of mindset.
Yeah, to work on the root cause of the thing that's causing,
Yeah.
whatever it is that you're going through. And it's not to say that feeling nerves is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But if it's like you said, sometimes it creates people to not
Mm,
act. Like it stops your action. If that's what's happening, yeah, it might be worth examining like what is going on for me? Like where does this come from? You
yeah.
know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Well, from there, like I've been in situations where I am confident about something, but I'm not at the same time when I'm doing some stuff. I'm confident, but at one point in time, there's a point where I'm losing that momentum and that motivation goes down, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, so what do you do to kind of motivate yourself and bring yourself back up to start going again?
I'm in that right now, to be honest. I'm in a slump. Like 2023 was a hard year for actors in general and probably all industry folks.
Yeah.
It was the strike, there was the Writers Guild strike and SAG striking. So luckily I did get to work Apex Legends, which was one of the only theatrical jobs. That was the only theatrical job I had all year. I
Wow.
worked commercials, thankfully, because it's a different contract, but yeah, because it's a different contract from the so I was able to do the video game, and I was very grateful for that. But it was a hard year professionally because I had booked my first 3 TV roles, which that took so much for me to get there. That was so challenging. Just co-stars, small parts. I had worked my first 3 in 2022, and everyone, my manager, my agent, it was like, "Oh my God, 2023, we're taking it to the next level. You're right there." And then boom. And then I also went through some really challenging stuff in my personal life, like life-changing stuff. So there was that. It was a wild year, but also there were a lot of beautiful things that came out of that year. But I left 2023 kind of anticipating that this year would just start with a boom. I shot the show Griselda for Netflix. I have a small part in the spring of 2022, and it was the best theatrical job I've ever worked. It
Wow.
was so much fun. It was like the role is it's crazy. Um, but the thing with co-stars and small supporting parts is, like we have discussed with editing, a lot of times in edit and in
Mm,
post, you
yeah.
get cut or your line gets mixed out, or because not because anything about you, but because it just doesn't serve the story, or
Mm,
they've just cut the B story or whatever it is. So I know now because my first 2 co-stars were the first line was mixed down, the second line was cut. I'm like, I know not to get my hopes up, but it comes out in a few days on the 25th.
yeah.
And so I'm like, am I going to be in it? And I think the anticipation of that has made me feel a little bit bad because I'm also like, what if I'm not?
Mm,
I
yeah.
had so much hope for this. And it's like, what if I'm cut? And then also, I had a really exciting audition at the end of the year and it turned into nothing. I didn't get a call back. I didn't get the thing. And it was like an incredible audition. So I even got that feedback from the casting director. So to kind of like end the
Mm,
year on a high and be like, and then to start the year, and I have had no auditions so far in January other than a couple commercial auditions. And I'm just kind of like, oh my God, what's going to happen? So I'm in a slump right now. And the way I'm getting through the slump and the emotional is I just kind of feel bad and I let myself feel a little bit bad. And I hike and I cook good food for myself. I take care of myself in other ways. Like
mm,
I find ways to like just take care of myself, to nurture myself, and then to creatively satisfy myself. Like I said, I think at the beginning of the conversation, I've been writing, so I work on my essays that I've been writing, and I kind of like take, but I also just let myself feel how I feel. I think a big part of any creative pursuit or any like non-linear career pursuit is like
yeah.
it's going to be like this. So how can we learn? And I think for me, a big lesson has been not to resist the discomfort, but to actually just lean into it
Mm,
and see like what is there for me to discover in this hard moment. Like I don't know if I'm ever going to book another job. I probably will, but like how can I what can I learn from this? And so right now, yeah, that's where I'm at. And we'll see. I'm sure talk to me in like 3 weeks and I'll be like, oh my God, everything's amazing. But right now I have definitely been feeling that hopelessness. So I think it's just normal.
I guess so. I mean, hey, I'm pretty sure you're gonna book something for sure. You're gonna get something your way. You are amazing. You're talented, and I get that so much. Like I'm in that sort of phase. At this, what I do is sort of keeping me there. And I'm very much laser focused on this. And even though it's not getting me anything in terms of monetary benefit, it's not getting me anything. I'm doing it because I wanna do it. I wanna get there. I don't know if I can get there, but I wanna, so it's like the ambition is there. But like it's also something that is not giving me anything. So I have to figure it out that way to get something to support myself. So that is always a thing in my head. So it's crazy and it's demotivating at the same time. But I'm making sure that what I love at least here, I make sure that I give my best and I enjoy it the best way I can. And so that is what I do. I try to do. It's not really all the time working out, but like I'm trying to figure that out, and it's somehow it's for now it's working out. And I'm pretty much sure. Like I know Griselda you mentioned, and I saw that trailer. It looked pretty cool, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. I want to see it. And I saw that you're working on it, so I'm excited for that. And I'm pretty sure that this year it has just started. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other roles that you're definitely gonna get something. I'm 100% sure of it.
Thank you. I think that's such a good point too. Just like being able to support yourself to pursue your passions. Like if
Yeah.
you need to make money other ways so that you can still pour your heart and soul into something, and something might not be like, yeah, it might not be, you might not be achieving the success that you have set out to
Mm.
achieve, but it's a slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
honestly, it's the long game. And it's like, if you love this, and this is what makes you happy. I think protecting that love, like you said, like letting yourself really enjoy it and not turning it into something that's like, I don't know, dreadful is so
Mm.
important because I think that's what ultimately leads to success. And also, what is success?
Oh yeah.
I feel like often in this society call success like money and then like other people celebrating you.
Yeah.
But I believe success is so much more than that. It's how you feel.
Yeah.
Like, I have felt so much more successful at the end of a day sometimes when I just played with my niece for 8 hours than if I did things that the world would be like, "Oh my god, you got to do that? That's so." But it's like, sometimes it doesn't fill your cup. It really success also has to do with how you feel when your head
Mm.
hit the pillow at the end of the night. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Success is such like a defined thing that people say, oh, it's this or this. These are the only two ways you can find success. I'm like, that's not. Because for me, I've learned so many ways. Like, I feel like what I see is like how success is if you do something that you're enjoying, you're there. You're successful. You're actually doing
Exactly.
something that you're enjoying. I would say like 90% of the people don't do it. And like 10% of the people are I would not say they're lucky enough. I feel like 10% of the people are having that perspective, right perspective, for like, let just do what I like and just do it and see how it goes. And so yeah, I see it that way. And as you mentioned, like, a lot of people have it like, oh, you're celebrating, yeah, you did this, it's great, congratulations, you
Yeah.
are now successful.
Yeah.
So it's just so weird thing that people sometimes say. But yeah, I know, like, you have to frame it in your head on how you look at success, but not on material things, but on things that makes you happy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pursuit of what you love is inherently success, you being successful. It's not about achieving, and we will achieve, and achieving is wonderful, and we need money to live and probably don't wanna do other jobs. But
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, like you said, I think just the pursuit of what you love, that is in a large way, that is success.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And another person is looking for success. It's a weird transition, but like Vantage as well is looking for the success to get back her mom. And so when when you keep on working on this project, I know you mentioned before that you worked with the engineer to make sure to get the voice right. But before that, did you had a idea in mind of how should I approach this character? Did you prepare for that, or was that like, okay, let me go to the first day, maybe I'm gonna get something to prepared on spot?
Yeah, so I worked with the director as far as getting the voice right. The
Mm.
sound engineer was there in person, but I was working with the director of the
Oh,
video game, or of my part of the video game. I when I did the audition, I played Vantage very much as myself. Like there
mm,
wasn't really character work. Like
yeah,
I felt this really just was like a grounded role that I could just bring myself to. So that's what I did. And then in the callback, that's what I did. And then when I went to work, I knew that Vantage was really coming from just mostly me. There was no voice that I put on. Sometimes I speak in my lower register and sometimes I speak in my higher register. And Vantage lives more up here than
yeah,
she does down here. So aside from that, although that is in my, it's not like so like it depends on my mood,
mm,
I switched into that higher register because she's a bit younger than me and that kind of but like I brought myself a lot to that role. Honestly, it wasn't I thought about the sides that I like the script that I had. I thought about what they told me about her and I the way I like to work as an actor is like I think a lot. Like I read and I think and I digest and then I get to set and I throw everything away and I'm just present
mm,
and I trust that like all that stuff is inside of me. And also with her it was just discovering, like moment to moment, line to line, like discovering who she was going to be and how she was coming out. I feel like her determination is really inspiring and I connect with that a lot. That kind of like, okay, that didn't work out. On to the next. Like she's got this very like, let's just get this done.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think there's just a part of me that very much connects with that. So it wasn't a big leap to
Mm.
work on this character. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. I like as I'm speaking to you right now, I realize like, oh yeah, you and Vantage are like, in terms of voice, like you're not different. It's just like a little of change of register, and that's pretty cool that you don't have to change to be this character. It's easier. I feel like, I don't know. I don't know anything about it anyway, but like, but I feel like that's easier for you to work on, and it's pretty cool. And I loved how sort of like the young version, and how different she is from the other legends. And as I said, like I've mentioned before, blunt and direct, and there's some cool lines. And one of the lines I actually loved a lot that I wrote down is, survival often comes down to luck. In your case, it came down to skill. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I was so crazy.
I love those lines. Honestly, sometimes they'll play me like little clips of animation with lines that I had previously recorded and things at the beginning of a session. And I'm like, man, or even just like sometimes they play, or every time really, before I go through like a set of lines, they'll play voice reference, voice reference. So they play like me saying, and I'm like, man, Vantage is so funny. I love her. I love
Yeah.
how she says team people. Like
Yeah.
she's always like, all right, come on, team people, because she's so not in it. I really yeah, I really love that about her. I relate to I'm I think a little bit weird, and I think people see me and they think I might be more conventional as a person. Like they're just like they project something like we were
Hmm.
talking about La Mesa, like there's a idea projected onto me. And I know we're all different from what people project onto us, but my experience is people will expect me to be one way. And I'm a much more quirky, blunt, kind of yeah, offbeat person. And so I just really relate to that. And I love getting to play with that when I am Vantage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love those lines. I was like, yeah, this line, these lines are more memorable. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Do you have like a favorite line? Do you remember right now, like any favorite line that you really liked?
I thought about that. I don't remember any off the top of my head. I just love calling them team people, like calling my team people. I
Team
think it's
people.
so funny. Yeah, come on, team people. And I love everything pertaining to Echo, just because
Oh yeah.
also I have a cat and he's tiny and like I've had him for 13 years.
Oh
He's a
wow.
little old cat now, and he's always on my shoulder, just kind of like Echo, and he sits here, and I love that she has that relationship. So I love the tenderness between her and Echo and kind of that
Yeah.
like camaraderie.
Oh
There's just
yeah.
some brutal things that Vantage says that are just brutal, but she says them in a funny, like upbeat way. Like
Definitely upbeat. Yeah.
she'll nail you with an insult, but she says it so like matter of fact, like I'm gonna kill you, something like that. And it's just like there's no finesse to the way she communicates that. Those are my favorite lines, like the bluntest, like a horrifying line coming through, but like in a very like this is the way it is,
Yeah.
with a smile is just that's those are I love those.
Yeah, I think at the same time, if those legends like kind of like were real people and be like, if Vantage actually said that to them, like, I don't know what to react to this. I think I'm just gonna go. Like it's like, oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
But I there's another line that I actually wrote, and it's I have listened to my favorite song 142 times in a row. I'm ready to go. Is that something that you do, like listening to a song so much? That-
Um, I don't know if I listened to songs 142 times in a row, but I definitely listen to things a lot. So like I'll repeat some if I like love something or a song puts me in a specific zone, I will like
yeah,
actually, yeah, especially editing, like, if there's a song that's, like, kind of got me in a flow, coming from a dance background, that very much like, that rhythm, I'll, like,
yeah.
use it to, like, energize whatever I'm doing to help me, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I understand that totally. There's so many songs that I'm just doing something. I think it's also editing, so weirdly. I'm editing and there's this song playing at the same time and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like jamming with it and I'm just doing the work quicker. I'm like, oh my God, that got me going. That was fun.
Yeah,
So yeah, like I remember those moments. It's really cool. Music just takes me up somehow.
yeah,
And yeah, that's like even sometimes I'm sitting and I'm visualizing, oh, this is how I would move in this beat. I'm like, what? What am I? So yeah, it's pretty cool.
yeah, and Vantage, grew up without music, so and, like,
Yeah,
society. So, when she says that, it's like she's like, "This is how we do music, right?" Like,
yeah,
she's like, I don't know. Um, I love how she is, like, discovering this version of the world for the
mm,
first time. So, a lot of things come off as, like, "What a weirdo," but really it's just, like, a young adult woman who grew up not having music, so now she's like, "Oh my god, songs are amazing." And I just really love that about it's so fun, and yeah, I think if we, like, looked at the world that way more often, we
mm,
would be happier in general because so much we take for granted as just, like, this is the
yeah,
way it is. And there's so much I don't know, like, when's the last time you listened to a song you, like, really thought about, "Wow, this is like, these are all
yeah.
these sounds put together coming from the nowhere, like, a person thought of this and made this and then recorded it, and now it's on this device." I mean, there's just, like, a lot of, magic in life that I think goes unnoticed, and I think the advantage of Vantage is she is kind of attuned to she's, like, aware of that in a way because she's new to the
Hmm.
world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that makes it so much more special now. Like she doesn't know, and she's experiencing all of it for the first time, so it's completely fresh. And I
Yeah.
love that she gets to experience all of this, like all together, all these new fresh things. It's so cool, and that's why I like that line when she's like 142. I listened to 104 this song 142 times. Let's go! Like this is crazy. I love that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, you said that you love directing and making, creating. Is there something that you would like to create for Vantage?
Um, I don't know. I haven't thought about that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great
Huh.
to be honest. If you something I know it's I don't know it's probably hard to get some rights and stuff like that, but it would be great. I think a lot of people love these kind of like their own side projects and do a small movie and stuff like that or whatever, a short. And because a lot of people, at least in games, they sometimes create their fan movies by game scenes and stuff like that. So it'd be
Yeah.
great to see if you have something in mind that can come
I
up.
mean, I would love for someone else. I think when I'm what I think for characters like that aren't me, I
Mm,
think or like when I'm the actor, I've learned because the last movie I made, I was not in it. I like to remove myself. Like I like to either act in something or write and
mm,
direct something because I
understood.
think I get too I'm too in it when I'm acting in it as well. But man, it would be so great. Can they make an Apex Legends movie? Please, someone make that. Cast me. That would be so fun.
That would be amazing. Yes, I've been wanting to, hoping, my fingers crossed, like, oh, maybe there should, it's gotta be an Apex movie. They can do animation. Why can't they just make a movie?
Yeah, why
Like,
don't they just make a movie?
yeah,
Where
exactly. I'm like,
everyone should let's put that out there into the ether.
oh, yeah,
Make a
definitely.
movie.
Make a movie. Yeah, like, it should, should just put it out there. Like, hashtag and do a Zack Snyder style.
Yeah,
That'd be fun.
that would
Uh,
be so smart of them,
yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Before we end this, there are some questions that people wanted to ask you. So, if
Great.
you allow me, there is a person by the name Lutage from Twitter. They ask, do you like bats in real life?
I love bats.
Oh, wow.
I love bats. I call bats the cats of the sky because
That's
because I
lovely.
follow this bat account on Instagram where they're like little black bats and they look like my cat. Like they have like a little face and the big eyes. I mean, okay, when you see their wings and their hands, totally different. But just like when they're wrapped in their blankets because it's they're rescuing them, I they just look so cuddly and sweet. And yeah, I love bats. Bats are, I mean, bats look all sorts of different ways. I
Hmm.
think they're really cool. And yes, I do actually love bats.
Wow, that's insane. I know my mom like just gets crazy. If there's a bad way up there, I'm like, oh gosh, it's gonna get me. Like, why? Like, no.
No, I always find it feels very special. I love when I'm out at night and bats like fly over me. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, love
That's
it.
so cool. That's lovely.
Yeah.
Rain asked that Rain just wanted to let you know that they love your work and they cannot wait to see more of you.
Oh, that's so nice of them. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
That's yeah, that's cool. And I know that there's in Apex Legends, there's always something that needs to be worked upon. There's always some new content keeps on coming, and so you always have to keep on working and all the different new content types. So that's cool. That anybody who works on Apex Legends gets to work on more in later years. So that's pretty cool.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Somnus Rex asked, "Do you have any inspiration when it comes to bringing Mara to life?"
At this point, it's her, it's like who she is to me
Mm,
and kind of doing right by Vantage, who I've built out in my head, who she is.
yeah.
But yeah, I think the inspiration comes from the writing itself. Like it comes from the funny lines and the kind of tough lines um and her story. I mean, I think she inspires me, her determination and how much she loves her mom. I think all of that together is what I use as inspiration when I work on her.
Yeah, that's good enough inspiration. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
B asks, how tall do you think Vantage would be?
I think Vantage is tall, like really tall, like 5'10".
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you
I
think?
think yeah, pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah. I think she's a big, tall person.
She is. Yes. I don't know if there's a stat around her, but like yeah, she's pretty big and I really like her design. I really like how her outfit is and everything. I'm like this is pretty
Yeah.
nice. Okay, a few people from I actually put on YouTube as well. The person by the name Shogun asked, "What has been your favorite thing to experience after booking Vantage?"
I mean, as far as Apex Legends goes, I would say it's like the ability to keep coming back to a job. I'm so accustomed to, I book a commercial, it's a one-day shoot. I've
Yeah.
done one-day parts on TV shows. I've worked on movies, but it's like 1 or 2 days. To be able to consistently come back to a character and
Mm.
a job and a community of the people that write and direct this game, like one, it's so nice because I like these people. I get to work with them over and over again over time. I get to work on Vantage. She gets to evolve as I evolve as a person. And I
Mm.
think that's the best part of this job is that it's not like a one and done, but I get to continue to interact with the material as I change.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great part about working here, and the character gets to evolve. That's wonderful. To like just thinking about like, oh, the character actually gets to evolve, and you're different, and how you from where you began, and the story also changes and takes turns. It's pretty cool. And yeah, this is
Yeah.
these are the one games that these kind of games are the ones where you can go back and do more. So that's wonderful.
Yes.
Cameron Lupke asked, "Did you audition any other character besides Vantage?"
No, just Vantage.
Just Vantage. Yeah,
Yeah.
I cannot imagine auditioning for multiple characters for one game. Like, oh gosh.
That I've done that now that I have a video game credit under my belt, I was getting sent a lot of voiceover
Mm,
video game auditions,
yeah.
and I was going out for, like, the same video game, but, like, all these different characters, so, yeah, it was really kind of meant to be or luck or something with Vantage because I just auditioned once, got the call back, booked her, and yeah, it just happened kind of in an unexpected way.
Absolutely. I'm happy that you get to be the one to voice her.
Thank
Um,
you.
a few people from Reddit also asked, a companion sentry by the name asked, "What do you like about Vantage and what do you dislike about her?"
Well, as I've said in this conversation, I love Vantage's spirit. I love how she's so determined. I love how she's blunt. I love that she's discovering this society for the first time, and that she's so open about like who she is and how she feels. I love that she doesn't quite understand social norms, so she makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that she's just, like, secure in herself. It, like, doesn't make her insecure when people don't receive her well. She's like, "Oh, okay." Um, I love all of that about her. I would say I don't dislike anything about Vantage, to be honest,
Yeah.
because, yeah, she's my gal.
It's very hard to even think about like, okay, what, because you worked on it. You like her.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know if
yeah.
why would you dislike her? Like you will have like lot less options of thinking about what can I dislike her about, because there's so many things that's good about her.
I think as an actor too, I've played roles and, like, just work in acting class and on plays, like, bigger roles that I've worked on,
Mm,
really complex roles. I've played people that have done extremely questionable things that you would consider bad. But from my point of view and from what I've learned and my training, I don't believe in judging my characters.
mm,
Like,
yeah.
I am the character. And yes, we are self-critical as people, but if I'm sitting as an outsider kind of like judging whoever I'm being, it kind of we're always justifying how we behave as people,
Yeah.
like in real life. So as when you're a character, it's really even when you're doing something horrible, as that character, you're justifying that behavior and you have to really live in that. So yeah,
Mm,
I don't know. We'll see as the characters I play get more complex. We'll
yeah.
see if that answer changes, but yeah.
Absolutely. King Mast asked, did you know that you're auditioning for Apex Champion, or was it kept a secret? And also another question is, who is your favorite voice actor friend, if you have
I did not know. I did not know. It was
one?
called something else. It had a code name. So it was a fun reveal. If I have a favorite voice actor, I don't know. I mean, I grew up with like the classic Nickelodeon cartoons. So like,
Yeah.
uh, you know, Chucky Finster was iconic,
Yeah.
Angelica. I feel like the Rugrats, like, all those voices were just such a huge part of my childhood. Um, so I would say the original Rugrats, that cast was excellent, and I love them all.
Oh yeah. They were amazing.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, Dallas Miller asked if you had the choice to make a voice a new character, what character would it be and what language would it speak?
I would love to voice a cat because I have a very particular cat voice I speak to my cat in.
Oh.
It's a kooky voice and it surprises people and it's weird. But it's cute and it's very unique. And he would definitely this cat or he or she would be bilingual. It would speak some English and some Spanish because that's honestly where how I speak mostly English in my well, it depends on honestly who I'm around, but, I'll speak English, that's kind of like the first thing but I always like Spanish comes out, like
Mm.
little bits here and there, and even when I'm speaking to my cat and I'm home alone, I'm speaking to him a little bit in English and a little bit in Spanish, so, yeah, write me an animation where I get to play a really cute cat, guys.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
cool. There is actually a game which is called Stray where you play as a cat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you play as a cat. There's no voices, unfortunately. It's not like a,
Mm,
but it's a cat, and you're behaving like a cat. So you just can randomly throw anything off the table and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a game like that.
love that. That
It,
sounds fun, I should play that.
absolutely, it has a very difficult, like hard opening, which is like, oh gosh, soul crushing kind of opening. But yeah, after that it just goes. Everybody was like, oh, I'm gonna go hop on this table, I'm gonna drop everything that's on it because I'm a cat. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so fun.
um well, Exo Shaman asked, do you have any advice for aspiring voice actors in honing their craft and navigating the business?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. Um, I'm not super involved in the voiceover world.
Hmm.
It's kind of its own world.
Oh yeah.
Like commercial, film, and TV. This is like a whole nother thing. I would say you want to have a decent microphone and a decent setup, and you want to practice and take a class if you can afford it. If not, just work with yourself. Like give yourself goals, get sides, get scripts from things, and try to work on them. Put the audition out or down, like record yourself and listen to yourself and be like, huh, I wonder, give yourself feedback and just keep trying and working with it. I think honing the skill and working on the craft is so important. I mean, it's acting still, so like working on your acting skills in general, like taking an acting class and it's also helpful, I think. But I don't really know because I haven't done a lot of it other than a couple little things here and there and Vantage. So
Hmm. Yeah, that's completely understandable. And yeah, you're right. Like, especially with recording yourself and hearing back, as something that a lot of people just don't want to do. Like, no, I'm not gonna hear myself back because I sound bad. And I did that as well for a long time, and I still don't like myself. But like,
oh
like don't like with the way I sound, and it's gonna probably be there. But yeah, it's important to actually hear yourself to find out what you're actually doing wrong and try to do better next time. So
yes.
yeah, that's one of the things that I've heard so many people say. But yeah, in the end, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time and for talking to me about Vantage and about life and success and all of that. It was lovely. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to everyone who asked questions and wrote in. And yeah, I really appreciate you reaching out. It was a pleasure.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm super excited for more Vantage stuff that will definitely be coming out. And I'm super excited for what's going to happen for you this year. I know there's a lot, the year has started. Definitely, there's a lot of things that will be coming your way. So I'm excited in general.
Thank you. Likewise, I hope it's a really good year for you too.